دانشگاه وین که پشت سر منه یکی از تاپ‌ترین دانشگاه دنیاست.
If you want to study here, it's almost for free.
به همراه خانواده اینجا درس بخونید. دانشگاه ملی وین راهیه برای تغییر زندگیتون. Today, I'm with Dr. Schwartz. Actually, I also studied some courses in this university. You studied in which of?
No, I also studied here. I studied law in this university.
Oh, you studied law in this university.
Our courses were partly in this building and partly in a more modern building of the law faculty.
So, this is very interesting because you have the experience to study here in England. You know,
Yes.
I always compare the universities for the students. I've been to London. The universities are like between 20 to 25,000 pounds.
Yes.
How much does it cost to study in Vienna University?
Well, if you study in this university, you only pay a small nominal fee of a few €100 per semester.
So it's almost free of
It's
charge.
almost for free, yes.
Yes.
The government pays for you and the government hopes that you become a proper academic and work in this country.
Great. So let me know about the conditions, because you just mentioned that if someone wants to study here, it's actually almost free. You are, as a lawyer, could help them to get the admission, give them some advice.
Yes, this is what we do, yeah.
Okay, so the question is, what is the most important conditions if someone wants to study here in Vienna? For free, let's
Well,
say.
in any case, you have to be admitted to study in your own country. So whatever your exam is, you have to pass it, and when you can study in your country, you can also study here.
Okay.
And then you have certain language requirements. Most of the courses are taught in German, so you have to be able to follow the courses in German. Mm-hmm. You have to submit a test. Depends on what you study, whether this is A2 or whatever.
Okay, so let's say you need A2, you need a document proving that you're able to study in your own country, back in your domicile. So if I have these documents, normally how long does it take to get the admission, and what happens to someone who comes here? Is he allowed to work? So this is the next question.
The admission as such at the university takes a month or two, something like this. Depending how busy they are, they first treat the EC applications and then the other ones, but let's say in 3 months you should have the admission in any case.
Okay.
And then if you want to come here, if you're a third country national, you need a residence permit. Mm-hmm. And in order to get a residence permit as a student, well, the first thing is an admission to the university. So this has to be done first. And then you can put together the other documents. There's a couple of standard things like your birth certificate, your passport. And then you need to show that you have enough money that you can support your life here.
Mm-hmm. In MIE, we will help you. We will give you all the information the lawyer gave to us, passed to us. We'll help you for the administrative process, organize your documents, and in case the admission is not issued, normally the law firm could represent or could present you and ask the university what the problem is. I mean, it's always better to have a local lawyer to help you, to assist you to get the admission in the university, which is almost free of charge. So many of these students are asking about the work during the study. Is it correct that the students is allowed to work 20 hours per week?
Yes. The rule is this: when you have a student, once you have your student residence permit, you can also work for 20 hours. This is like half of the normal working hours, but you have to get an extra document from the labor market service. But this is just issued without a problem. But you have to remember you have to do this first. Otherwise it doesn't work. But this is done without any bureaucratic a big ado about that. It takes about a week or two until you get this formal document.
So if I understand correctly, first you help them to get the admission, if they have the requirements, and then once they have the requirements, you help them to get the residence card, and if they come here, you advise them how much they can work per hour, per week.
Yeah.
But the question is, if someone finds a good job, he studies in a top university, and he finds a good job, let's say in IT.
Yeah.
Okay? Is it a possibility to switch to more working hours.
If you find a good job, you can stop studying and right away start to work also.
So is it possible?
You can there's a residence permit with working permit, which is called the Rot-Weiß-Rot card, red-white-red card, which is the Austrian national flag. This is a red-white-red. And if you have the requirements to get this, you can start right away.
Perfect.
Whether or not you finish your studies or not, you can switch from one to the other.
But let's imagine in a situation, a student finishes his studies,
yes,
and now he wants to find a job. What is the privilege?
Well, the first thing is they get an extended residence permit, like the student permit, just to look for a job. Mm-hmm. And they have a time for 1 year to look for a job. They can stay longer than needed, and if they find a job in this period of time, they would get this Rot-Weiß-Rot card, even at preferential treatment. Like there is a lower salary they have to earn other than if they come from abroad.
Great.
So there is a good chance that, in particular as the labor market is now, there's a good chance that you find a job.
Great. So what we see here are the professors of Vienna University who have an influence in the site.
Well, yes. I mean, we are here in the yard of the university, and this is 400 various professors and scientists who work.
So, it's actually a good topic to talk about. The study in Austria and in Vienna University.
Yeah.
Why could it be attractive? What are the best points of that?
Well, I mean, I also studied at this university here, so I kind of like it. Vienna is generally, I think it's a nice city for students. Mm-hmm. The university is relatively easy accessible. We have public universities in Austria and we have private universities. In a public university, you hardly have to pay. There's a small fee only. Mm-hmm. But the courses are mainly German. There's a few English ones, but they have a high entrance requirement. Well, one thing is it's a nice city, I think. Yeah, you have all the culture, you have a lot of restaurants, sports facilities. It's a city you can enjoy. It's busy, but not too busy. It has the critical size that there is some life, but it's not that big, so it's easy. And university, well, we said it's relatively easy to get an admission to an Austrian university. The condition is that you are allowed to study in your own country, like that you have passed the school leaving exams which permit you to study in your own country.
Like the 12 years diploma, you mean? Something like that?
Kind of this. Whatever in your home country is the relevant exam, which makes you eligible to study in your own country. Mm-hmm. When you do this, you can also study here. And then there is some language requirements. In the public universities, they are not so high. In the private universities, they are higher. Okay. You have courses in the public university are basically in German only. There's only a few English subjects.
Yes.
While in private universities, there's several private universities where you can study in English.
Mm-hmm. Can you name maybe?
There is Modul University, there is International Business School, there is Webster University, and a few other ones, like for instance, Amadeus Music School.
Yes, good. And you were saying that there are two different universities, private ones, like the English ones. Yeah. Normally they are English, right?
They all have English courses, yeah.
English courses, and the state universities.
Yes.
Which Vienna University is one of the remarkable ones.
Yes, this is where we are here. The university as such has been here. This building has been here since the 1880s. But the university as such was already established in the Middle Ages. So we are on old academic ground, so to say.
Good. Now my next question would be about the history of the study in Austria. Lots of countries like US are saying that we have a good academic history. But when you go back, you see that the universities are founded like 100 years ago. What's the history of this university where we are?
Well, it's a bit older, actually. Okay. So it was founded in the Middle Ages. If I remember correctly, in the year 1365. As a small university in a small medieval
So it's more
town.
than 650
Yes.
years.
Yes.
650
Yes, and
years.
they still use the old seal in wax. When you get your doctor diploma, they use still the old seal. And well, it was in a different building, and this building here exists. This was built in 1873, if I'm not mistaken. You know, outside you saw the Ringstraße, big boulevard, which was built in these 1870s, 1880s, and this is one of the big buildings here. And then over the centuries, this became too small, and now this is, so to say, still a core building, but there's many other institutes like the law faculties and a separate building.
So it's a top university with hundreds of years of history. And you come to a city called Vienna, which was chosen as one of the top cities in the world, actually the best one. And tell me about the safety in the Vienna, because our family live here, so...
Well, Vienna, well, it's of course there is problems, like everywhere there's problems, but there's less problems probably.
Okay.
So generally you can walk around everywhere, there's no like real unsafe area.
Okay.
I mean, maybe you should not go everywhere at any time, but still generally there's no area where you would say don't go there at night, for instance. Mm-hmm. There's a very small chance that you get robbed.
I see.
There's a little violence, but very little.
So it is correct. It's one of the safest cities in the world.
Yes, probably. Yeah.
Okay. And for the students, it should be affordable. You mentioned that the universities cost almost free. How about the life cost for the students? Normally, how much does it cost if one single person comes here, wants to rent a small flat?
Well, you would get a small apartment for a rent in not a too fashionable area for, let's say, 600 or 700 euro. But you can also get a student hall, a room in a student hall, which is quite less.
Great.
We are there talk about 300 or 400 euro, depending what it is.
I see. So what you are mentioning kind of the top cities in the lowest price in the world, and the university has different majors. As we understand, there are attractive points now. Let's go back to the admission process and the visa process. We have been facing a lot of challenges for students. They said they couldn't get the admission, they couldn't get the visa. They think that the visa get rejected or their residence cards request get rejected. What would be your services in this regard?
Well, many applications get rejected because people are not familiar with the details and not familiar with the documents you actually need. So what we do is we fill in the application forms, we tell you what documents are needed, what kind of translations and all this. This is like, it's easy, but it's many easy points, and in total it's a bit confusing. It's good if you have someone who actually knows and who can also read German to tell you what the law really wants, and what the requirements really are.
And how much was your success rate in getting this student residence card?
Well, actually, I hardly know of any case which was finally rejected. So I would guess we are somewhere in the range of 95 or 98%.
Success.
The thing is, of course, we only accept the case when we are confident that it also works. Like we would not want to try things where we say, probably it doesn't work, but you can pay me a fee and I try.
Okay.
We rather don't do that. So
Perfect.
we rather take good cases and then we have also good results.
Great. So let's say if I want to apply with my family, I want to come, study here, work here as a student. Yes,
you can also take your family with you.
Is it at the same time or they have to come like 1 year after me? I mean...
No, they would be admitted at the same time, and if all the requirements work, then they come more or less with you.
How about the kids? Are they also allowed to study here?
The kids going to school or to study at the university? Yeah, once you're here, actually you have to go to school. When a kid is at the age of 6, they have to go to school.
How much does it cost this? Because I've read that the education system in Austria is one of the top one in the world. So how much does it cost to study in a school, in university?
Well, there is a few private schools where you would have to pay, but the public schools you don't have to pay. Actually, it's your obligation to go there.
I see.
There is some small fees for some small things, but generally the school as such is for free.
Let me see if I and my friends understand correctly. So imagine that someone who comes here, he can come with his family.
Yes.
he can enjoy the study of one of the top universities with almost free of charge.
Yes.
And also my children are allowed to study in the free schools.
Yes, but you know, so to say, the obligation is you actually have to study. And if you don't study, you would not get the visa renewed after a year.
This is what we really check, that you're really a genuine student.
You have to be a proper student.
You have to be a proper student. You really have to have the intention to study. Otherwise, we are not allowed to provide services to you. You know, at least when we see some people say we just don't want to study. We want to see how. I mean, it would be a lot of trouble. There are pathways like they can come and work here in a work visa, or they can come as an investment visa. But when they come as students, what you mean is they really have to be the student and they want to study.
But they have to make a certain number of points per year, and only if they do that, the residence permit would be renewed after a year.
Okay, so I don't want to keep you in this cold weather much, but
no, it's not that bad.
Okay, so the last question: if you see the documents, the student has only A2. He doesn't know any German, okay, or English certificate, but he's got his A2 and he's got his documents ready. Will you be able to help him in the process of admission from A to Z?
Well, we do the process, and if he meets the requirements, it works. The requirements depend on what you want to study, and there's also universities, as we said, where you can study in English. But these are the private universities, and there you have to pay.
I wanted to tell our people here that we're ready to help you. Maybe your services, your information, where could they find information more about our services? How could they contact us?
I mean, the easiest is MIE website, I would think.
Yes.
Because this is also in Farsi. Like, we would have everything in German or English, but maybe it's better you explain the things first.
Okay, right. So for the Iranians who wants to study here, you just need A2 and you need a certificate that you are admitted to university in your own country. And we are very happy if we can have you more here. And the Schwarzschoner as a law firm is beside us to help you from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, and well, maybe one day you're also here in these rooms and get your graduation document.
Great.
Thank you.
We look forward to that. Thank you.